welcome everybody. The 2023-2024 season has concluded, and your Kansas City Chiefs have won back-to-back titles. Ironically enough, against the Dallas Cowboys, this time a closer affair, but still 34-31. We got some yearly awards to review before we hop into everything 2023-2024 offseason. And so for the Super Bowl recap, it was 34-31. The Chiefs have their fourth Super Bowl. Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, of course. NFL MVP is Jamar Chase, one member of the Gritty Gang. Coach of the year was Vikings Kevin O'Connell, had the best record in the NFL, just couldn't get it done. Offensive Player of the Year, Jamar Chase. Defensive Player of the Year, Byron Murphy Jr. Offensive Rookie, Jahmyr Gibbs. And Defensive Rookie, Noah Sewell from the Ravens. So there you have it. As you saw, NFL MVP Jamar Chase with JJ just behind him. So the Gritty Gang running the top of the board. Coach of the Year, of course, Kevin O'Connell. We'll start off in the NFC. Offensive Player of the Year in the NFC is Justin Jefferson. And, of course, Waddle, Dalvin, Reek, and Jalen Hurts behind him as well. Defensive Player of the Year, you got to do it to us again, don't you? Trayvon Diggs. I play when I want to play. Nick Bosa, despite having a better stat line, it is a popularity contest at the end of the day. Jalen Johnson, Fred Warner, and Lattimore. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, right behind him, despite having a 5-12 record. This is why awards are weird. CJ Stroud, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, despite playing really only half the year, ends up at number 4, and then Josh Downs, number 5. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Christian Gonzalez. From the Cardinals, Tyree Wilson, from the Packers, and Will Anderson Jr. Best QB, Jalen Hurts. Best running back, you know him as Dalvin B. Cookin, though. Best wide receiver, JJ. Offensive lineman, Frank Ragnow. Don't like him. Nick Bosa, best defensive lineman. Fred Warner, best linebacker. Trayvon, oh my goodness. And Jalen Johnson, the best defensive backs. Best kicker was Daniel Carlson. And now for the AFC side, you got Jamar Chase, Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, Byron Murphy. Offensive Rookie, Anthony Richardson. Interesting enough, quarterback that the Minnesota Vikings drafted. So there you go. Quentin Johnson, Darnell Washington, Rashee Rice, and Bryce Young behind him. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Noah Sewell. Eli Ricks. Dion Henley and DJ Turner. So 2. Count them 2. Baltimore Ravens rookies in the top 5. Best QB was Josh Allen. Best running back, Jonathan Taylor. Wide receiver, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf, and then Traylon Burns. Offensive lineman, Eric McCoy. The best defensive lineman, Chris Jones. Best linebacker, Patrick Queen. Defensive back, Byron Murphy. Best kicker, Eddie Pinheiro. And there you have it. So there we go. We're going to take a look at retirements, and then we'll get you up to date with everything going on free agency, and then get you ready for the 2023-2024 draft. And this one's going to hurt. Adam Thielen has called it a career after 11 years. Doesn't want to run it back with the team. He is gone. The Minnesota Vikings now need a wide receiver. Ryan Tannehill retires after 12 years. Cameron Hayward after 13. Jordan Cameron or Cameron Jordan, take your pick, retires after 13. Matt Paradis is gone after 10. Tyrod Taylor after 13. Marvin Jones after 12. Casey Hayward after 13. Kevin Zeitler after 12. Jason Kelsey 13. And Lane Johnson after 11. Bye-bye. So 3 members of the Eagles' offensive line are gone. So, oh boy, that's going to be interesting there. Calvin Beachum is gone. Harrison Smith, former Viking, retires after 12 years. Sorry we had to ship you out to the Cowboys, but there you go. Justin Pugh after 11, or Pugh. James Hurst after 10. Logan Thomas, after 10 years. Tom Brady finally is done. After 24 years at the age of 46. Patrick Peterson, former Viking, after 13 years. Raheem Mostert after 9. Michael Pilardi after 9. Houston of the Justin variety after 13. Brent Urban after 10. Kerry Hyder, who, after 9. Devon Kennard after 10. AJ Klein after 11. Greg Von Rotten after 11. Al Woods after 14. Henry Anderson after 9. Randall Cobb, gone after 13 years. Randall eats the Cobb the long way. Sorry. LJ Ford after 11. T.Y. Hilton, one of Randy Replay's favorite wide receivers, after 12. Randy McLeod after 12. Chad Henne after 16. Oh my goodness. Malik Jackson after 12. Colt McCoy finally done. Kyle Rudolph, former Viking, after 13. Latavius Murray, former Viking, after 11. Mike Remmers after 12. Ode Obashi or Ubashe after 11. Mario Addison after 13. Lane Taylor after 11. Senio Kelmete after 11. Patrick Oname, that's what we're going to go with. After 11, Brian Witzman. And then Prince Amukamara, after 13 years, have called it all quits in the NFL. Yes, Randy Replay is going to receive a fine for that, but it's worth it for the Baru. We will next check back in with the staff moves, I guess. The Minnesota Vikings have apparently fired their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. As you can see, we finished dead last in the NFL in defense, rushing yards per game rather. And we'll take a look at the staff going forward. So head coach Kevin O'Connell, offensive coordinator Nick Gregory. Apparently our offensive coordinator from last season did not want to return. So we get rookie offensive coordinator Nick Gregory. And then Craig Taylor comes over by way of Pittsburgh. So welcome in Craig Taylor. So we're going to run it back with the different offense and defensive coordinator. So there you go. All up to speed. We will check back in throughout the offseason process, then get you ready for everything 2023-2024 NFL Draft. This has been Randy Replay. I will see you in just a minute. Oh, well, hello and welcome back. Randy Replay back to announce a signing. It's kind of a weird... I don't get it very much, but it is what it is. Robbie Anderson signs a 2-year, $8.8 million deal with the Minnesota Vikings, and it looks like he will end his career in Minnesota. He is 31. They might bring him in for a punt returner, as he does have some good speed. He does have some good ball carrier vision, as rated by the NFL. High catch in traffic. So this might just be a punt return / depth move by Minnesota, but the 31-year-old Robbie Anderson will call Minnesota home until he's 33 and seemingly playing out the rest of his career in Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings have $50 million left in the cap room, and we will be back if they ever, or when they ever, make any moves. It has been Randy Replay. See you in just a minute. Well, hello and welcome back. There has been movement here. Week 3 of the free agency. The Minnesota Vikings have agreed to terms with Chidobe Awuzie on a 1-year, $14.4 million deal. The team has lost Trayvon Diggs, who now is a Raven, and Jalen Johnson. So Awuzie, being 29, will step in and be the centerpiece of this cornerback room that was, well, picks aside, amongst the worst in the NFL. Robbie Anderson, you already know, signed his deal. Greedy Williams, what a name, huh? He's a scheme fit. Signed a 2-year, $8 million deal as kind of a throw-out offer. He's got great speed, pretty good hands, and he will play the slot role, I do believe, in this defense. And then, of course, Kirk Cousins. You like that. Signs a $7.2 million deal to come back to Minnesota and back up Patrick Mahomes. So Kirk Cousins, you like that? You like that? Playing his final year expected in the NFL in Minnesota. He will be wearing number 8. And the Minnesota Vikings get a serviceable backup who still has, excuse me, jeez, pretty good throw power at 85 and then pretty good accuracy across the board. So there you go. Welcome back, Kirk Cousins, to Minnesota. This has been a Randy Replay. I will check in if we make any more signings. Final week of free agency. And then, of course, coming back at you with the 2023-2024 NFL Draft. Oh, boy. Well, hello and welcome, everybody. It is time now. Free agency has wrapped up, and it is time for the 2024 NFL Draft. And then we'll get the season schedule, and we'll take a look at who the Minnesota Vikings are playing in the 2024-2025 season. But now it is time to start the NFL Draft. Oh, boy. So after a flurry of activity here in the first round, it is the San Francisco 49ers with round 1, pick number 1 on the clock. Now, just like many years past, we will go through the first 3 rounds. And then we will go in a quicker fashion, not checking in unless if it's a steal like a Bijan Robinson from last season. Minnesota doesn't have a pick until 30, but oh boy, right now it is the 49ers. They will have a couple more in this round, and we'll see what we can do here. But they do have a guy in mind, going all for broke, just missing the playoffs last season. Who is going to help them cross that line in 2024-2025? And the pick is in. It is Jack Sawyer, the best left outside linebacker in the draft and probably one of the best in recent memory. Explain the pick here.
San Francisco has 2 stud linebackers in Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, and they just wanted to shore that up behind the likes of Bosa and Franklin Myers on the defensive line, just to, they're hoping he can play day one and just be an impact player. And, maybe that just means that Dre Greenlaw is just, maybe expendable. We'll have to see.
Makes sense. There were rumors that the Minnesota Vikings were trying to move up into the top 5 to get Jack Sawyer, but all efforts with the limited roster were fruitless. And Jack Sawyer goes number 1. So we will take a look at the Steelers pick. It is in. And it's JT Tuimoloau, however you want to say it, the best edge rusher in the draft. Now the Colts expected to take a quarterback. The Colts pick is in, and it's Dallas Turner. So Dallas Turner goes by way of the Colts. And it turns out that Caleb Williams still might be able to drop down to the Buccaneers, who need a quarterback. Now, the Bears don't need a quarterback. They signed Jalen Hurts, oh boy, in the offseason. So let's see what they do with their first-round selection. It's Brock Bowers. They get a tight end out of Georgia. Oh, my heavens. Seahawks need a quarterback. This is expected to be Caleb Williams. And yes, indeed. Yes, indeed it is. Caleb Williams falls to number 5, rather. And then we got back-to-back Dolphins picks. And we'll see what kind of peaches the Dolphins get out of Georgia. Reuben Fothery, the right tackle prospect out of Texas A&M. Next pick is in, and it will be James Williams, a strong safety out of Miami. So the Miami native gets to stay in Miami and play in Miami. And this is expected to be a quarterback here for the Bucs. Okay, they go Corey Foreman, left end. So they forego the second best quarterback in this draft. The Panthers are on the clock. And it'll be Denzel Burke, cornerback out of Ohio State, and now 1 of 3 in the first round for the second of 3 in the first round for the 49ers. Ladies and gentlemen, Quinn Ewers, or Ewers, however you want to say, QB out of Texas, second best in the draft, goes by way of San Francisco. Obviously a depth move here, but is he in contention for the starting spot?
You know, San Francisco has Trevor Lawrence at the helm, and he set a touchdown record for touchdown passes in a season last year. That being said, he also throws a lot of interceptions. So maybe, you know, as they traded away Brock Purdy to move up to that number 1 pick, to get another quarterback in the room who has some potential to maybe put some pressure on Lawrence. And also with those huge touchdown numbers by Lawrence, you know he's going to be commanding quite the salary in a couple of years. So a little insurance policy here.
Makes all the sense in the world. So the Bucks will pass on Quinn Ewers, and Tampa Bay fans, you just lost out on your quarterback. Oh boy. Hopefully Ewers or Ewers, however you want to say it, will work out in San Francisco. Jacksonville on the clock, being told their pick is in, and they will select J.C. Latham. So the best left tackle in the draft is gone by way of Alabama. The Commanders, who have a lot of picks here in the first round. Here is their first. Jackson Dart, another QB, goes off the board here, third in the round. QB out of Ole Miss, throwing darts for Washington. So there you go. The Raiders are now on the clock. They will select Mason Smith, defensive tackle out of LSU. The Chargers, who just lost Justin Herbert, they're on the clock. They get Xavier Worthy, a wide receiver. We don't even know who their quarterback is. But here we go. The Lions. Oh, boy. Also had a good offseason. Their first selection is Jeremiah Trotter, middle linebacker. And, oh, boy. The last of 3 for the Niners here on the clock in the first round. The pick is in Bryce Foster, center. So you go, excuse me, back-to-back offensive players. Is this just a depth move, or is he going to be able to start day number 1?
I think that's going to come down to how recently free agent signed Cushenberry. We'll see how it goes in camp between those two to see who wins that starting job at center.
So there you go. A little bit of center controversy in San Francisco. Bryce Foster, the pick out of Texas A&M, the Giants. On the clock, their pick is in Donovan Jackson, left guard out of West Virginia. The Jaguars seeming to have 20 picks here in the first round. Maybe we're just a little salty that Minnesota doesn't get to pick for a whole nother round here. Either way, Jason Marshall, cornerback. Excuse me, from Florida, gets to stay in Florida. One of the bird teams, the Cardinals, on the clock here. Connor Colby, right guard out of Iowa. The Texans. Pretty good offseason, getting picking up Chase Young in the offseason. And they will get Trayvon Henderson, the best running back in the draft, going to the Texans. Oh, my goodness. So the Saints are now on the clock. Their pick is in Leonard Taylor, edge rusher out of Miami. Oh, snap. And then the Broncos, and we will wrap up here with the teams in the playoffs. Losing out on Tom Brady, they get Grayson McCall, quarterback out of Coastal Carolina. So Tom Brady exits. Grayson McCall, you are being called up. Buffalo Bills are on the clock, being told their pick is in Mario Williams, one of the first wide receivers off the board here. The Eagles, who just lost pretty much everybody across the offensive line. You got to believe that's where they're going here. And they get Max Johnson. Okay, so a quarterback. So the Eagles not addressing their offensive line issues in the draft. Walker Parks, a right tackle out of Clemson, will go to the Bungles. The Falcons are on the clock. Pick is in. It's Joe Alt, the best second best left tackle, in the draft. And you really hate to announce this pick, but you got to do it. And so the Packers will select, of course, Marvin Harrison. Well, who else? One of the better wide receivers in the draft in terms of catching. And Marvin Harrison goes to the Packers. So we got to deal with that little wide receiver for the next couple of years. Bengals back on the clock. Tyleek Williams. Giants, who had a pretty good offseason, free agency, whatever you want to call it. Andrew Makuba, The free safety out of Clemson. The Eagles are back on the clock as we wrap up this first round here. Rocco Spindler, a guard out of Notre Dame. Very interesting. The Cowboys, runner-up to the Super Bowl winners. It's Asterix McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. And then the Chiefs traded away their first-round selection to the Commanders. And they have their final of 2 here. Their pick is in. It's Amarius Mims. All these guards are going off the board. And now round number 2 starts with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Minnesota picks in 29 selections. Oh boy, we're excited. So the Bucs will select Will Rogers. So Will Rogers will be the quarterback out of Mississippi State. Obviously, they like their other selection better. The Steelers are on the clock here. And it's Carson Bruner, middle linebacker out of Washington. The Colts are on the clock, and then we get a user pick here with the Baltimore Ravens. Will Shipley, running back, goes to the Colts, and now the Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. We're being told that there is no representative from the Ravens available to comment, so we are going to make it up on the fly. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this. We're actually going to use ChatGPT, but who's counting? Well, we are being handed news that the Baltimore Ravens have traded their second rounder for Carlton Davis. So this is not the Baltimore Ravens pick. So we are going to advance. And the Colts get back-to-back selections, and Kalen Bullock will go to the Colts, so a free safety out of USC. Motoring right along here, the Seahawks pick is in, and it's Chop Robinson, what a name. Right outside linebacker from Penn State will go to the Dirty Birdies, the Seattle Sea Chickens. And now the Rams on the clock here. Their pick is in. It's Tyreek Chappell or Chappelle, however you want to say it. Cornerback out of Texas A&M. The Dolphins on the clock now, inching ever closer to the Vikings selection. And it's Igbuka. Asterix Igbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Oh boy. Patriots now on the clock. Gary Bryant, string of wide receivers going here. The Panthers pick is in. Rayshawn Davis, another linebacker going off this board. A very big need for the Vikings. They don't like watching all these linebackers go off the board for sure. Malachi Moore will go to the Steelers. The Titans are on the clock. They lost Ryan Tannehill due to retiring. And they go Junior Colson. Gotta believe this would have been a quarterback, but they got somebody that they like better than the remaining quarterbacks on the draft board. So the Commanders on the clock. They will get Shamar Turner, left end out of Texas A&M. And the Raiders are back on the clock here. Devontae Gordon, another left tackle going off the board. Chargers on the clock. Pick is in. Desmond Evans, left end out of North Carolina. Oh boy, here comes another division rival, the Detroit Lions. And it's DJ Uiagalelei, quarterback. So the Lions will take a quarterback with their second round selection. Interesting. And the, oh my, that is the last name for sure. The Giants on the clock now. Their pick is in. Justin Flo. Somebody highly touted by Minnesota, and he almost slides to him. Middle linebacker out of Oregon. 6'5", I do believe. He is a big man in the middle. And he goes to the Giants. And here's the other New York team, the gosh darn Jets. They will select JT Daniels, quarterback out of West Virginia. So a string of quarterbacks here in the second round. The Jaguars with their 15th selection here. LJ Johnson, running back out of Texas A&M. We got a Bird team, and then we got the Niners. And then the Eagles get pretty much back-to-back picks, and then the Minnesota Vikings coming up here. But first, Arizona Cardinals get Cullen Oliver right outside linebacker from Oklahoma State. And now the Niners are on the clock with their second-round selection. 10 more picks until your Minnesota Vikings get their first pick in the draft. We got 2 3s, we got a 4, we got a 5, 2 6s, and 4 7s coming up here tonight still. So do we have a trade? I'm seeing the Eagles up there now.
Yeah, San Francisco just trades back one spot and then picks up a 5th rounder as well.
Oh my goodness. Capital. Got that GM over there doing work as per usual. So the Eagles now own the 20th selection in the 2nd round. Their pick is in. They want this guy, Omari Thomas, defensive tackle out of Texas. And now the Niners back on the clock. Okay, so another trade. The Niners moving back 2 spots.
Two more spots and another 5th rounder. So
stacking up those 5s. Everybody put your 5s up. So the Bills have traded up, giving a 5th rounder to the Niners. They really want this guy. We'll see who it is. Josiah Stewart, left outside linebacker. So another linebacker going off the board here. Coastal Carolina. The Broncos on the clock, and then we got the Niners. Broncos pick is in. It's Ja'Cory Brooks, wide receiver out of Alabama. And the Niners back on the clock pending any trades. I mean, you guys want to trade with us? We're at 30. And ladies and gentlemen, we do have a trade. Your Minnesota Vikings have moved up 7 spots. And I'm being told right now that it is a 6th and a 7th compensation to the Niners. So the Niners will slide back. Minnesota moves up. They need somebody. They want somebody. They've seen left outside linebackers go off the board. Who's it going to be? Minnesota. The pick is in. We are being told it's MJ Sherman, left outside linebacker. Power rusher out of Georgia, 6'2", 253. Hidden dev trait. So Minnesota gets their guy. They've seen linebackers going out of the draft, and they get MJ Sherman. So welcome to Minnesota. Oh boy, so they trade up that. Hopefully this guy is good. We'll see. The Eagles are now on the clock. I'm being told their pick is in, and it's Luke Weipler, Minnesota's highest scouted lineman in this draft. Oh boy. So Luke Weipler, the best available. And, oh my goodness. So the Texans pick is in. Eric Gentry, right outside linebacker from USC, goes to the Texans. That corner still on the board here, slated to go in the 1st and 2nd round. He is sliding. So the Falcons, Marcus Tate, left guard out of Clemson, gets selected here. I wish we didn't have to do this, but we have to. The Packers pick is in. Oh boy, here we go. Justin Wally. There it is. The best corner available out of Minnesota. Justin Wally goes to Green Bay. Hopefully, never mind. I'm going to get fired. The Bengals are on the clock. Their pick is in. Chance Williams, right end out of Miami. You hate to see a Minnesota guy go to the Packers, but it is what it is. Chance Williams will go to the Bengals. The Lions are on the clock. Wyatt Milam, a tackle that Minnesota was scouting for their 3rd round selection coming up here in about 10 picks. He will go by way of the Lions. And now the Niners back on the clock. Couple trades in the 2nd round here for them. But as we round out, we'll see what they want to do here. The pick is in, and it's Braylon Allen, running back out of Wisconsin. We don't like the state or the college where he's coming out from, but I'm assuming this is just a depth move.
Yeah, getting another back in the room behind Bijan, who slid last year in last year's draft. The Niners did end up trading away Kenny Nwangwu. I don't know if Braylon Allen can replace him on the kick return, but they do have other people that can do that. So just getting another running back in the room
makes all the sense in the world. So now the guys that stole the NFC Championship away from the Vikings, the Cowboys on the clock. Their pick is in. It is Asterisk Stackhouse, defensive tackle out of Georgia, and now it's the Bucks with back-to-back. Oh boy. So this pick would belong to the Chiefs, but they traded it away. We'll see what they do. Nate Wiggins, cornerback, out of Clemson. And then they'll come right back in the 3rd round with Landon Tengwall, one of the weirdest names, left guard out of Penn State. Excuse me. The Steelers on the clock. Their selection is Smail Mondin. Oh boy. Ismail Mondin, one of the weirder names, left outside linebacker out of Georgia. Now, had the Vikings not traded up, we would have been looking at Ismail Mondin. Oh boy. Colts are on the clock. Their pick is in Brett Corder. And a string of linebackers going before it gets two down here for the Vikings. We do have the Niners coming up. We got the Vikings coming up here. But first things first, the Texans pick is in. Sam Hartman, quarterback out of Wake Forest, goes to the Texans to back up Lamar Jackson. Oh boy. Still signed there for 7. Panthers are on the clock. Their pick is in. Donovan Edwards. Another running back here out of Michigan goes. The Bears, who had a really good offseason. What are they going to do? Rasheen Ali. Oh boy. String of running backs here in the 3rd round. The Dolphins pick is in. The Storm Duck. The Storm Duck goes to the Dolphins. A cornerback out of North Carolina. He's pretty good. You don't want to be ducking when Duck gets a storming. The Patriots now on the clock, and then we'll have the Niners. Gavin Bartholomew, one of the longest names in the draft, the tight end, goes to the Patriots. Niners on the clock. A couple picks in the 3rd, one in the 4th, and then the 6s and 7s coming up here. The pick is in. It's Lucas Van Ness, left end out of Iowa. You guys have Bosa. You have a couple really good left defensive ends here. Is this the depth move here in the 3rd round?
It is just a depth move. It's someone we had our eye on that we just couldn't let slide any further.
Makes sense. Very, very good left end out of Iowa. So now the Falcons on the clock. You got the Titans, then the Vikings. They're first of, I do believe, 2 here in this round. Falcons pick is in. It's Cal Holiday. Another linebacker going here in the 3rd round, Michigan State. Titans are on the clock. Their pick is in. Justin Rogers, defensive tackle out of Kentucky. And now your Minnesota Vikings. You have 1 at 12, 1 at 23 here in the 3rd round. What are we doing? The pick is in. It is Zach Frazier, another hidden dev trait by the NFL. 6'3", 310 out of West Virginia. He is a center. Minnesota will try him at right tackle as they believe they can move some pieces around here. Pretty good pass block, pretty good run block. Trying to guard for the best running back in football coming into this season. Dalvin Cook in terms of yardage, of course. Okay, we motor on here. After the 3rd round, of course, we will skip ahead and do the normal duties. But the Raiders on the clock again. And it's Jalen Jones, free safety out of Texas A&M. Oh, boy. One of the LA teams, the Chargers, on the clock here. They will get Cameron Kitchens. Oh, my goodness. Kinchins, rather. Free safety out of Miami. I was about to say they'll throw everything but the sink at him. Lions on the clock. Lions pick is in. It's a Campbell Barrington, right guard out of BYU. Giants are now on the clock. Their pick is in. It's Omar Speights, left outside linebacker out of Oregon State. So the Minnesota Vikings getting their guy before this run of linebackers here in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. So the Steelers on the clock here. The Steelers pick is in. It's Xavier Alford, strong safety out of USC. Now the Niners on the clock. The Niners pick is in. It's Dante Manning, the best available corner on the board. Care to explain the pick here?
Yeah, San Francisco is definitely looking to move on from having Chandon Sullivan in the room.
Oh, wow.
And Dante Manning just looks to have the skills there. I mean, he even has he's got a dev trait that's kind of hidden away. So hopefully he can make an impact right away.
Well, there you go. You love to see those, the diamonds in the rough, as they're called. The Cardinals are now on the clock. We're being told their pick is in. Once again, Dante Manning, cornerback, goes to the Niners. The Cardinals pick. Okay. Olumuyiwa Fashanu. That's my best stab at it. Left guard out of Penn State will go to the Cardinals. Minnesota's got a pick coming up, but first we got to go to the Browns. The Browns pick is in. Cedric Johnson, left end out of Ole Miss, will go to the Browns, and now the Aints are on the clock. Their pick is in. It's Baylor Cupp, another tight end going by way of Texas Tech. The Broncos now on the clock. I'm being told their selection is in. We are motoring right along here. It's Michael Trigg, tight end out of Ole Miss this draft. Very, very deep at tight end, and it's showing here in the third round. We are being told a trade has come through. The Falcons will trade 2 4s for Grady Jarrett, and the Ravens will slide into that spot on the top of your screen that says Falcons in 3 picks. But first, Minnesota. Let's see what we're going to do with 23 here in the third round. And ladies and gentlemen, the Minnesota Vikings have traded their pick. They've traded the 87th overall for 96, and they picked up a 5th round, I do believe, 131. So the Vikings have traded. They moved back 9 spots. The Raiders now own the 23rd pick of the third round, and with this pick, they will select Luke Renfro, a center out of Cincinnati. And, of course, the Ravens coming up here in a couple. Wow, it does show it. Wow, good job, EA. We love you. Not really. The Eagles on the clock here. I'm being told their pick is in. Tyler Batty, looking to go Batty down there out of BYU left end. The Texans are on the clock, and then, of course, the Ravens. After trading, Fabian Lovett, defensive tackle, goes to the Texans, and now the Ravens are on the clock. So Minnesota, you trade out. You don't have a 5th round, but now you do, and you still keep your 3rd round. So 2 third-round selections, rather. So you only move back 9. Then, of course, we got the Niners coming up, the Packers, the Bears, and the Vikings. Oh, boy. So Grady Jarrett goes back to Atlanta, and Fadil Diggs, another Diggs on this defense, right on out of Texas A&M, will be welcomed into Maryland with arms wide open. So here we go. We don't want to do it, but we have to. The Packers are on the clock. Their pick is in, and one of the members of the long line of asterisks. So asterisk, the tight end variety from Old Dominion, will be drafted by the Packers here in the 3rd round. Bengals are on the clock. Their pick is in. Joseph Charleston, the strong safety out of Missouri, and that being one of the first asterisk last names to being picked here this year. So there you go. Good job, Packers. 49ers on the clock. Vikings in 2 more. The pick is in. It's DeMonte Capehart. So another defensive tackle goes off the board here. Assuming these are just depth moves from here on out, unless you find a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, I think they're just looking to fill out the roster here.
It sounds good. So 2 more picks before we get motoring through here. We will not do every pick outside of the 3rd round as per usual. There's some local scheduling conflicts. The Broncos pick is in. It's Jarvis Brown-Lee, cornerback out of Louisville. And the Bears are on the clock. We'll see what NFC North Division rival the Bears do. It's Jaden Walley, wide receiver, Mississippi State. Minnesota, you traded back 9 spots. Assuming your guy is still here, let's see what the Vikings want to do. The pick is in. It is Asterisk Solomon. We don't know if he's related to the rest of the Asterisk family, but he's a 6'2 speed rusher out of Troy, a normal development trait. His knocks here are going to be block shedding, and it looks like impact blocking. So there is some work to do here for the 3rd round selection, but there you have it. That will do it for the end of round number 3. We will now move ahead to the next pick of the teams that we follow. So Jarquez Hunter, running back out of Auburn, very, very deep draft at running back here. They're still getting taken here in the 4th, and the Niners are on the clock. Then we go to Baltimore. Minnesota picks at the end of round number 4. Oh, boy. And for the Niners, it will be Bo Collins, wide receiver out of Clemson. Of course, we're all expecting these moves here to be depth moves as we go forward. Ravens are on the clock, and we'll see what they want to do here with their 10th selection here in the 4th round. And with the Ravens pick here in the 4th round, they will go offensive line Paul Chio out of Georgia Tech. We're being told this is a hidden dev trade as rated by the NFL, so they get a good, potentially good right guard here in the 4th round. Asterix Lampkin, left guard out of Coastal Carolina. A lot of Coastal Carolina picks this year. Will go to the Lions, and now the Niners here on the clock. The 16th pick in the 4th round. We got a couple, and then they're back at it again at pick number 20. Oh boy. Thanks, Falcons. Right? The pick is in. It's Jack Nelson, left tackle out of Wisconsin for the Niners. We have a couple before they are back on the clock. Jets pick is in. It's Clark Barrington, left guard out of BYU. Jacksonville's 40th pick of the draft. He's Devin Leary, quarterback out of NC State. Cardinals pick is in. We are motoring right along here. Brian Thomas, wide receiver out of LSU. And now the Niners back on the clock here. Minnesota picks in 10. Oh boy. And it's Nick Anderson is the pick, free safety out of Wake Forest. Ravens coming up here next up. Marshawn Lloyd, running back out of South Carolina, will be taken by the Texans. And now the Ravens on the clock here for their 4th round. You get Minnesota in 4. Oh boy. Being told the pick is in. It is Jamie Robinson, free safety out of Florida State. So the FS from FS goes to the BR. Oh boy. And Demouy Kennedy, right outside linebacker, will go to Dallas. And now Minnesota, you are on the clock here with, I do believe, 126 in the draft. We're being told the pick is in. It is Roger Asterix. So another Asterix brother goes by way of Minnesota here. A 6'6", 310 tackle out of Washington. Knocks are injury. He is injury prone, but everything else is a C or above. So possibly a good pick here. It is not, it's considered a reach here in the 4th round, but Minnesota, you don't have a pick until the 7th round. So you gotta get somebody. So Minnesota gets their right tackle in Roger Asterix. Of course, a battle will ensue with that center they picked up earlier in the draft for that right tackle spot. Trace Ford, right outside linebacker, goes to Washington, and now the Vikings back on the clock. Apparently, they had a 5th round that we didn't see here. Anyway, Minnesota, a 5th round. Now you got 3 7s. We'll see what you want to do. The pick is in, and Darian Chestnut is the selection, a hidden dev trait by the NFL, man-to-man. The 6', 198, expected to play day 1. He's got great acceleration, great jumping, great speed, and great change of direction. His only knock is his stamina and injury. He's injury-prone coming out of college, and his stamina is going to take a while to get acclimated to the NFL level, but here in the 4th round, the Minnesota Vikings pick up a hidden dev trait rated by the NFL out of Syracuse. Oh my heavens! Jawan Briggs, defensive tackle out of Cincinnati, will be the Broncos pick. And we got the Niners back-to-back here in round number 5. The pick is in. It is Nick Henrich, or Henrik, however you want to say it, middle linebacker out of Nebraska. 1 of 2 here for the Niners in number 5. And the next pick is in. It is Dwayne McBride. So they go back-to-back here for the Niners. Moving on ahead. Fred Davis, cornerback out of Clemson, goes to the Eagles for the defending reigning Super Bowl head of the table champions, the Chiefs. Their pick is in. It is Trey Sanders, running back out of Alabama. EJ Williams, wide receiver, will go to the Cardinals, and Minnesota back on the clock. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a trade. The Eagles have traded with the Minnesota Vikings. They moved back 4 spots and now own 216, 217, and 218 to end their draft here in the 2024 season. And the Eagles moved up to get somebody. We're going to find out who. Their pick is in. It's Brian Hudson, center out of Louisville. The Ravens have made a trade. The Ravens have traded to pick number 21 here in the 7th round, and we will see what they want to do here. And the pick is in. It's Hank Bachmeier, or Bachmeier, one of the weirdest names in the draft. QB out of Boise State. Go Blues. So the Boise State Bronco, Hank Bachmeier, will go to the Ravens. The Steelers are on the clock. Their pick is in. It's Brendan Gant, strong safety out of Florida State. And you don't want to do it right before, a bunch of NFC North teams come up here, but the Packers, no pick up here in the 7th round. Xavier Henderson, wide receiver out of Florida. Minnesota, you got 3 back-to-back-to-back. What are you going to do? The pick is in. It's Danny Costanzo. Not expected to overtake CJ Ham, but Minnesota's preparing for the inevitable. A fullback, utility fullback out of South Carolina. Knocks on him, of course, are his blocking abilities. Kind of awkward that Minnesota would take him, but there you have it. So a fullback goes here. And Minnesota, you got a trade pending from the Niners. The pick is in. It is Brad Price. Power rusher, 6'5" linebacker out of Air Force. They have, of course, the Army, Carter on the defensive line. So now Minnesota, your last pick in the draft. What are you going to do with it? Oh, snap. And the Minnesota Vikings will go lineman. It is a normal depth trade. Alan Maddox, a 6'4", 310 center out of NC State. The only knock, of course, being an injury issue, but and pass blocking, but he's pretty good at finessing, and he's pretty fast, so he's one of the faster linemen in the draft. So Minnesota bolstering that line, and now we will figure out who is Mr. Irrelevant. Oh boy, the Bears will take Keneen Richard, right tackle out of USC. The Bengals are on the clock. Julius Glenn will go. The Packers. Jalen Hutchings, defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. The Bengals are on the clock. Their pick is in. Matthias Mayweather, middle linebacker out of Kansas State, rather. Cowboys will select Woody Washington, and Mr. Irrelevant goes to the Texans this season. He is Jaden Grant, cornerback. And there you go. The 2024 NFL draft has concluded. We're going to take a look at Minnesota Vikings draft class coming up here in just a minute. And hello and welcome back. We're going to take a look at your 2024 draft class here with Randy Replay. MJ Sherman taken in the 2nd round, the first pick this season by the Minnesota Vikings at 23. He is a 73 rated overall by the NFL out of 100, with that hidden dev trade as well. Zach Frazier was our 12th pick in the 3rd round. He's rated as a 73. So he will be in contention with that right tackle position. Asterix Solomon was our 2nd pick in the 3rd round. He is rated 70 out of 100 by the NFL. So Solomon will probably get a backup role to Danielle Hunter there. So there you go. And then Roger Asterix, many believe to be the bust of our draft here at the number 4th in the 4th round. He is a 68. So there will be some competition there at that right tackle position. Darian Chestnut, one of the better picks in the later rounds. He was a 5th round hidden dev trade, 73 overall cornerback, Darian Chestnut. And he will try and help out this cornerback room as much as we can here. Danny Costanzo, the fullback taken in the 7th round, 66 overall. Brad Price, the left outside linebacker, 59 overall. And then Alan Maddox, the center taken with our last pick, was a 66. So the 7th round not treating the Minnesota Vikings well, but the 5th round for what it was, a 73 out of 100, not bad at all. He slid to the Vikings and welcome in Darian Chestnut. So MJ Sherman, Zach Frazier, Asterix Solomon, Roger Asterix, Darian Chestnut, Danny Castanzo, Brad Price, and Alan Maddox. Welcome to the Minnesota Vikings football team. Minnesota still has $46.9 million in the cap. They have 64 out of 75 players, and they didn't really fill needs. They got a serviceable backups, if anything. Next time we see you, we will be taking a look at the 2024-2025 NFL season, as the schedule will release here in just a little bit. Well, hello and welcome. The third best time of the year, the schedule release. Minnesota in the preseason will have the Chargers on a Saturday 10 p.m. kickoff. Oh boy. So be sure to get your late night pajamas on for that one. Thursday night football against the Raiders at home, and then at home against the Chiefs. The 11-point game last year. So there you go. Starters will be playing into the third quarter in that one. Then the regular season, we tip off against the Seattle Seahawks and Caleb Williams, 4:05 Sunday afternoon. Oh my heavens, in Seattle. Then the Aints come here for Sunday night football. Very nice, week number 2. And then we're away for 2 against the Cardinals and Packers, noon Sunday games. Oh boy. And then we're in Detroit. We are in San Francisco, week number 6. We're for Monday night football. Very nice. The Colts come here. Week number 7. We are away for 3 Titans, Bears, and Packers Sunday night football. Oh my heavens. So a lot of primetime games here for the Vikings. And then it's a noon game at home, week 11 against the Jaguars. We go to the Texans. Sunday night football, week number 12. We are at the Eagles. Oh boy, week 13. We pull the 14 bye. So a late bye week for Minnesota. And then we're at home for 3 against the Rams, the Bears, and an afternoon Lions tilt. And then we end the season, a noon game in Buffalo. Snow, possibly. Who knows? But, yeah, not a bad-looking schedule for the Minnesota Vikings. We're seeing Caleb Williams week number 1. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts. Ouch. So there you go. Minnesota will be adjusting not schedules, but rosters prior to kickoff. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is here. The 2024-2025 NFL season about ready to kick off in the next one. This has been Randy Replay, and I will see you in the next one. Woo-hoo.